Here, and are you still not subscribed to Matt's channel? Well, if you're not, hit the subscribe button because he's giving out free picks each and every week. Hope you have a good rest of your day.
UFC 292 live from Boston, Massachusetts. Omalley versus Sterling. Not the best pay-per-view card, to be honest. It did lose a couple fights. We'll break down the main card like usual, though. Provide free picks, leans, price talk, and what to avoid. Systemsportscapping.com is the website. Click on the link me to receive my client card for this event. You can find my link me in the bio here or all of my social media. Going for our 5th straight profitable event. Client card available after the weigh-ins on Friday. System capping on all social media, guys. Give me a follow over there if you're not. I have free picks over there. Sports betting news, sports news in general, and everything system capping. Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, very active over there. Let's do a UFC Vegas 78 recap here. Another profitable week in the UFC. First card I personally missed and did not watch all year. Did have a little summer getaway. You have to do it sometimes. You got to get away, especially before the NFL season, which is going to be very busy for me. I was on the main event to go over in rounds, over 2.5 rounds. Free play on Luque. Hopefully you guys did tail that. I also hit a 2-fight parlay at plus money with Luciendo and Black Shear, both winning fairly easy. Speaking of Black Shear, what a gangster. This guy's returning this week. 7-day short notice, ties. I think one other guy did it. Nobody ever won, though. So let's see if he can break that streak. He'll be fighting Mario Batista, who is a killer. Supposed to fight Garbrandt, but he did pull out. Let's do a UFC update here. UFC update. Back to 67% on the year for client bets, guys. One of the highest in the market. Remember, this is 67%. My average line is around plus money, plus 110, plus 100. Average line. This isn't just picking minus 300 winners. if you ask me to just pick on the card, it's going to be in the high 70s. This is client plays plus 67%. The goal is always 70%. That's the highest goal, right? If you could do 70% for the full year at plus money, average line, you're doing very well. That's always the goal. I've done it before. I've had a full year 70%. That's always the goal. If I'm above 60%, I'm happy. Usually I'm in 65 to 70% range. That's the goal, and that's why I'm able to do this for clients. 70% 2-fight parlays on the year. We were down 69%, but we won last week. 70% 2-fight parlays. I'll explain the 2-fight parlays. I usually do 2 of my favorites, right? They're usually minus, right? Minus 200, minus 300. You parlay it together, you're going to get even money, plus money. Last week we got plus 109 on Blackshear and Luciendo. Right, you're going to like a lot of favorites in UFC. That's just how it's going to work out. So if you parlay them together, that's what I suggest. When you start getting into 3, 4, 5 fight parlays, that's where you're going to get in trouble. So I always suggest to clients, and even to you guys that just watch the video, 2 fight parlays are the way to go. Right? Find your 2 favorite fighters to win and put them together. You're going to get a much better price instead of trying to bet a minus 300 favorite. Over 66 units long-term in the prop market, guys. PGA, profitable start to the playoffs due to the prop market last week. We hit another free play winner, which also was a full unit client play on Cam Davis plus 150. Top Aussie. Glover, right? Wow. Goes back-to-back. Very impressive and rare. You don't see many guys win back-to-back tournaments. Usually I'll always stay off the guy if he plays the next week, just because it's such a rare commodity that you see a guy win in back-to-back weeks. So I stayed away from Glover. Wish I obviously attacked him here. Doing that, staying to that theory long-term, it's obviously going to pay off. Over 85 units now long-term in the prop market, guys. 67% matchups on the year. Two big outrights, which you guys all know if you follow me. Grillo plus 8,000. Harmon plus 11,000. NFL's around the corner, guys. I'll be doing an NFL preview in a few weeks here, end of the month. So look out for that. I also have an NFL package now available. If you want to get on board now, my full NFL package is available now at the website. You will receive all my future bets for the year, full regular season plus playoffs and Super Bowl. Package is available. If you're just an NFL handicapper, I have that just for the NFL package. If you want to just get all my bets for all sports, just normal packages that you can purchase. Over 60 units of profit the last 2 years, guys. Back-to-back outright winners in the future market. Let's hear from my friend Kristen, ex-lingerie football player. Now she's a race car driver, model. You'll be probably seeing more of her throughout the year.
System Capping is now available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts just in time for the upcoming NFL season. Check out Beat the Books podcast. Be sure to check them out weekly everywhere you can get podcasts. And believe me, I listen to them, so you should listen
yes,
to them.
Yes, guys, on Spotify, everywhere you get podcasts, Apple Podcasts now. It's available now. You might be listening. If not, you're watching on YouTube. I appreciate it. If you're on YouTube, just give it a thumbs up. Quick thumbs up, comment as well. And on Spotify, there's no likes or anything, right? On Apple Podcasts, you can do a rate and review. That'd be awesome. Just give me a 5-star. That'd be awesome. Let's shop around for best prices, guys. I can't stress this enough. Let's get into this card. Shop around for best prices. Have multiple books. Have access to multiple books and get the best prop or price out there. Having multiple books is the best way to handicap. Let's get right into a main event, guys. Sterling minus 260 versus Omalley plus 220. You know, I always do lines before I look at them, right? Early on Sunday or Monday, I'll do my own lines. You know, I had Sterling at minus 300, not far off here. So I do think there is some value here with Sterling, believe it or not, at this price. You know, classic striker versus grappler matchup here. And I would say probably the worst matchup for Omalley in this division. 9 straight wins for Sterling, wiping out the division, and he did it with mainly his grappling and wrestling, right? He's not the best striker, but very unorthodox, very tough to fight because the way he strikes and mixes up the grappling and wrestling. You know, I thought we would see, like I mentioned, 3-to-1 pricing. I don't love the price on him. Like, plus 220 on Omalley. I would need to be in the high 300s to even give it a thought of betting, right? Obviously, the line, I think, moved down because O'Malley's a popular guy, right? The fans love him. Sterling just doesn't really have a fanboy base. Not a lot of guys like him. I guess mainly maybe due to his personality and maybe his fighting styles. It's not super attractive. It's not very fun to watch, even though he does dominate at times. You know, Omalley does have a shot to win this fight. He can catch Sterling on the feet, in my opinion, like he did with Jan. Remember, he dropped Jan in that fight. Very impressive. He had the bigger shots in that fight, and that's how I think Omalley could win this fight. He catches Sterling on the feet and hurts him. It's possible. Right, it is definitely possible. It is a fight at the end of the day. I think O'Malley's going to be the better striker, and I think he's going to be quicker on the feet with the better movement. Yeah, obviously, Sterling comes in with the awkward movement. Very tough to fight, like I mentioned. Phone call. Sorry about that. Like I mentioned, Sterling, very awkward on the feet as well, but I think Omalley will just be quicker in there. We're more of a gunslinger, right? So obviously, Omalley has the striking advantage here. I just think Sterling has a huge grappling and wrestling advantage. He usually does have that, right? We saw him take down Cejudo last time out, right? So the way Omalley wins this fight, in my eyes, again, not enough juice there, plus 220 for me to back, and not enough underdog value there, plus 220 for me to back. But he has to keep it in the middle of the octagon. He can't be against the cage. Sterling will just work him to the ground and look for submissions. Maybe keep him down there. Maybe try to get some TKO ground and pound finish there. O'Malley's going to have to keep it in if they move around and just piece him up. But I do think Sterling at some point is going to be able to get this fight down to the ground. There's no secret there. right? You can look at it, Sterling only's been finished once recently, in 2017. I wouldn't say that's recently. And it was a wild flying knee. It would have to be something like that from the Omalley side, in my opinion, to finish Sterling. I don't think he's going to knock him out on the feet with one shot. He could possibly hurt him and drop him, but I don't think he's going to clean knock him out. It's very low odds, right? I have Sterling winning this fight about 80% of the time. Right, so I do think there is some value here at this price. You can find it at a 2-fight parlay, Sterling. He could also be, you could take by a finish, a TKO or submission finish maybe later in this fight. Remember, we never saw O'Malley go 5 rounds. This is his first 5-round fight. He's been stressing all the past few months. I watch his podcast. I'm a fan of O'Malley. I love to see him win. I just don't think the matchup is great for him. He's been stressing time and time again, the 5-round, training for a 5 rounds very tough. Sterling's been there, done that when he has 4 or 5 5-round fights. He can go the distance if needed. I just don't think it will go all 5 rounds. I think Sterling would end up getting some sort of TKO finish or submission finish at some point. And if O'Malley wins, probably not going to be by decision, let's be honest. Sterling's going to get the takedowns if it goes 5 rounds multiple times, right? Jan, you saw him easily take down O'Malley. I'll give credit. O'Malley was able to get up and, guard from any submission attempts. Jan's not really known for any submission. Sterling is. So it'll be interesting to see if Sterling does get the fight down to the ground, which I do expect him to. Is he going to be able to get a submission? Right? O'Malley does have some solid grappling. I think he's like about a brown belt. Possibly may have just got his black belt. I thought I saw maybe a black belt on him at one point. He does train with high level. Obviously, Tim Welsh is good. Coutinho is a grappling coach. So he does work with very high-level guys. He can grapple, guys. It's just there's levels, right? I think Sterling's going to be the stronger guy. I think he's going to be able to take him down. O'Malley's not a wrestler, right? I'm sure he could grapple, hold his own, and maybe not get submitted throughout the fight, but I expect Sterling to get this fight down to the ground multiple times. And how is O'Malley going to react? How good is O'Malley on the ground? We don't really know. We saw a little bit in the Jan fight, and we saw Jan be able to get him down, and I'll give credit. O'Malley was able to get up. He's able to scramble around. He's long. He's lean, right? He's probably hard to keep down. So it'll be interesting to see if Sterling does get the fight to the ground. Can he keep him down there? So Sterling, multiple paths to win. If it goes decision, I expect him to win due to the multiple takedowns throughout the fight. If the fight ends, it's going to most likely be by a submission on Sterling or like a ground and pound finish like Cheeto did to O'Malley when he was hurt. And if O'Malley gets the win, it's probably by a finish. Very hard to see him win in 5 rounds. That means if O'Malley wins by decision, it means he picked him apart on the feet and avoided multiple takedowns. Right? That's tough to see in my eyes. So unless O'Malley, really got good at grappling and wrestling in the past year that we don't know about, I guess we would see it here. But yeah, Sterling is going to have to be the bet for me. I'm going to have to lean by finish as well at some point. Hard to guess if it's going to be a submission or TKO, right? Is it going to be a knockout on the feet? No. But it definitely could be a TKO ground and pound style finish or a submission. So Sterling will be the play for me. It's probably going to make my client card in some way this weekend. But hey, I would love to see O'Malley win this fight. Like I mentioned, I'm a fan of O'Malley. O'Malley, very entertaining fighter, right? Great to watch. Very fluid and quick on his feet. Great striking, kickboxing. I love to watch him fight. It's just this matchup is not great. Sterling's in his prime right now. Hasn't lost a fight for 9 fights in a row, and he's been sweeping out this division. I have a hard time seeing him struggling to get O'Malley down and wrestle and grapple. O'Malley's path hurt him on the feet early, in my opinion. Zhang, minus 334 versus Lemos, plus 250. We have another title fight here. And again, I would have to look at the favorite here. Just to give you a heads up, I do like a lot of favorites on the main card. I have found some prelim fights that I like at plus money and underdogs. You'll have to sign up for the client card to get that. Whaley continues to get better fight after fight. In all departments, very well-rounded, super disciplined, and just good everywhere. The only advantage I give Lemos in this fight is maybe power on the feet. But hey, Whaley has power as well. Now, I do have to tip my cap to Lemos. After that loss to Andrade, she does have 2 nice back-to-back wins. Finishes as well. Over the submission win over Watterson. Watterson, lower level girl. at this point in her career, but does have the nice win over Marina Rodriguez, and it was a TKO finish. And Marina Rodriguez, very good striker on the feet. So I have to tip my cap there for Lemos. She has big back-to-back wins, and that's why she's getting this fight. So yes, a little value at plus 250, but she's going to have to hurt Zhang on the feet. And I just think Zhang is too smart of a fighter. I think Zhang wins this fight again around the 80% mark. So I'm able to bet her at this price, but it would have to be in a 2-fight parlay or a finish prop. We'd never seen Lemos go all 5 rounds, so I won't be backing that at the decision price on Zhang. But yeah, it could be a decision. You know, Lemos hard to submit, so I could see maybe Zhang possibly just getting maybe the fight down to the ground, mixing up her MMA skills to win the fight, and it could possibly go 5 rounds. I wouldn't be shocked, but if I had to bet it, I would take Zhang to finish this fight at some point. She's just so... This is probably her prime. Even though she's like, I think, 34 now, 35. Lemos is older, so keep that in mind. But I think Zhang's in her prime right now. I think this is the best she's looked in her career in the past few fights, right? The only person she's losing to in her career is Rose, right? Rose has her number. Everyone has her number. I think if they fought now, though, Zhang would win that fight. But Rose does have her number. So besides Rose, she's wiping out the division. I expect her to keep the belt here. I expect her to beat Lemos. She's going to have to avoid that big power from Lemos. I think she does. I think she mixes up with the wrestling. I think she can take down Lemos. Lemos has some decent takedown defense. Has a submission game as well. Don't think she'll get caught there. Lemos win. The way Lemos wins this fight, in my opinion, is, you know, catching her. Crazy submission or a big shot on the feet. I think Zhang avoids that and wins this fight. Gary, minus 500. Yes, Gary minus 500 versus Magny plus 380. Remember, this is supposed to be Jeff Neal. Magny's taking this fight on somewhat short notice. Different style fight, right? So Gary's kind of taking this on short notice too. When he was training for Neal, it's probably just a stand-up war. And Magny, you expect him to grapple here. You know, zero love for Magny as a veteran. And almost, if you can start getting plus 400 out there, guys, I wouldn't call you crazy to take a small unit shot on it. Just too much value. This is Gary's best opponent. Magny's a veteran, right? Gatekeeper, if you want to call him. Beat guys in this type of scenario before. His only recent losses against some killers, right? Look at Magny's recent losses. Gilbert Burns and Rachmanov. 2 of the top level guys in this division, right? Gary, a ton of hype around him. I get it. He did have a nice finish versus Rodriguez last time out, but Magny also beat Rodriguez. I'm not high on Rodriguez, so I don't think he's that great, to be honest. Gary, a very good striker, very high significant strikes landed per minute, just under 7 compared to Magny's 3.5. If this fight's 3 rounds on the feet and Gary's able to avoid the takedowns and grappling, Gary wins this fight by decision very easily due to strikes landed, right? He could finish Magny on the feet later in the fight. You know, we don't see Magny get knocked out on the feet, though. Anytime Magny loses before the judges' scorecards, it's by submission. Always by submission. So I could see Gary just piecing him up on the feet for 3 rounds, winning by decision. You're not going to want to pay this minus 500 price on Gary. There's no value at all. A young guy stepping up against a veteran guy who has been in this situation before and ruined careers in this situation before and ruined, you know, guys that have been undefeated. So there's no way I could bet this price on Gary. If you have to bet Gary, if you love Gary, you take him by decision. Yeah, I don't see him submitting Magny, right? And I wouldn't call you crazy due to the price. A little sprinkle on Magny if you can get the plus 400 range there. Magny could just grapple. He's going to have a grappling and wrestling advantage here. If he can just grapple against the cage, get this fight down to the ground and kind of hold him there, he could steal a win. We've seen Gary get taken down before against guys that less grappling and wrestling. So I wouldn't call you crazy if you back Magny here at the price for a smaller unit. It's just no way really to bet Gary. It's just very difficult, right? You can probably look at the fight to go the distance, but it's probably juiced as well. I haven't looked at it before this video. But yeah, my favorite plays in this fight would be fight to go the distance, Gary by decision. You can't bet this Gary at minus 500. It's tough. And then, hey, wouldn't call you crazy to put a sprinkle on the plus 400 if you can get Magny at plus 400 because he has a path. Can he get the fight down to the ground? That will be the question. And can he hold them there? Magny a little older now. Could gas later to the fight, but 3 rounds he should be fine. He does come in good shape into fights. A little short notice, keep that in mind. So, yeah, there are some things working against Magny here. And, will I pull the trigger at plus 400 on Magny? Probably not. But for you dog bettors out there, there is value here on Magny. Batista, minus 225 versus Blackshear, plus 187. Now, Blackshear just fought last week, guys. We were on Blackshear. Had a twister finish. Outstanding. You don't see many twisters. I think there's about 3 or 4 in the UFC. And Blackshear, very high-level black belt. But he's taking his fight on short notice on 7 days, tying the record. No one has ever won in 7 days short notice. And Batista's a killer, guys. Batista's very good. It's supposed to be Garbrandt. If he beat Garbrandt, which I probably would have been on Batista to beat Garbrandt, we would see Batista start being talked about, a very dangerous guy, start getting bigger fights. Blackshear, though, Batista's going to have a big striking advantage, in my opinion, on the feet. I think in the grappling department, fairly even. But Batista also is going to have a wrestling advantage. And I think he could lean to taking down Blackshear if it's not. It should go okay on the feet, though. I don't see Blackshear getting this fight much down to the ground. I think his path is maybe to catch Batista in a submission if it gets down to the ground. But 7 day notice, 2 back-to-back weight cuts, guys. This is not at a catch weight. This is not at a catch weight. Keep that in mind. It's at 135. So he has to cut weight within 7 days twice. I do not like that. I expect him to maybe fade later in the fight due to that. Batista's not the best cardio. He does fade later in fights, but I expect him to be 100% ready for this fight from a cardio standpoint. Yes, the difference between Blackshear and Colby Garbrandt is big, so he's also taking this on short notice. You guys got to understand that as well. Right, Batista is taking this fight on short notice because the opponent's totally different. Keep that in mind. But from a cardio standpoint and being ready for the fight, you got to give it to Batista, right? Due to the Blackshear quick turnaround and weight cut. So yeah, Batista is who I'm going to have to back here. It's not enough plus money on Blackshear for me to be interested. I would have to be high 200s, 300s for me to start looking at it a little closer. I have Batista better pretty much everywhere, maybe not in the jiu-jitsu game. But Batista has good jiu-jitsu. Batista's really well-rounded, guys. He has the power on the feet to hurt you. He has a good submission game. You've seen many submissions from him as of late. And he has wrestling, right? So I have to look at Batista here. The price isn't terrible. This could make my client card at some point, not in a straight bet, of course, but maybe sneak into a 2-5 parlay. Maybe take him in the outcome market. I could see him hurting him and finishing him, but most likely by decision. Fun one to open up the main card, or we would think so. Vera minus 200 versus Munoz plus 170. Last time we saw Chito Vera, it was a dud from him, unfortunately. It was against Corey Sandhagen. He mentioned it was just an off night. He couldn't get going. I think it was more what Corey was doing. Corey's a very high IQ fighter. Very smart. And we know Chito Vera starts slow. You can't start slow in a 3-round fight, especially against Munoz. This fight, Chito Vera needs to wake up early. And that's why there's a little concern at minus 200, even though I slightly favor him to bounce back. Pedro, we don't have to worry about him coming out as a super high IQ style Corey Sandhagen. Let me wrestle early, hold Vera down. Munoz likes to fight on the feet, guys. There's no secret. Likes to do the heavy leg kicks. Likes to try to win on the judges' scorecards. Can take shots. Takes a little too many, right? He absorbs around 6 strikes landed per minute. That's high. That's very high, guys. So, when Chito Vera has the bigger shots throughout the fight, I expect him to land a more flashy strikes, the bigger shots. Munoz might just work the leg. How much are the judges going to look at that? I would have to lean Vera by decision here, get the better price, get that a plus money around the market. And my favorite bet, would be fight to go the distance and the over 2.5 rounds in this fight. I think these guys are fairly even. Munoz obviously coming off a big win over Chris Gutierrez. I was leaning Chris Gutierrez in that fight. That was a big win, right? Gutierrez was surging, but he stepped up a little bit in a veteran like Munoz, and he was able to sneak out a decision win there. And, I can see, I agree there's a little value here on Munoz at plus 170. It's going to be my favorite underdog on the main card, at least, if I had to pick out an underdog on this main card. But I do think Vera is just going to bounce back here, right? But just remember, before the Corey Sandhagen fight, he was beating some killers, right? Dominic Cruz finished him. You don't hear that much. Font, right? Big wins that he was getting. Obviously Grant as well to start that. So I'm going to have to say, Cheeto gets back to that form. It's a very winnable fight versus Munoz, right? I do think Vera just lands the bigger shots. I could almost be certain this goes to decision, right? Munoz just doesn't get finished, guys. He doesn't really get finished. So I can see this going all 3 rounds over the 2.5, and Vera just sneaking out a decision. It could be a close decision call. That's why I don't love this fight. So I can see being very close fight on the judges' scorecards, and probably why it won't make my client card. If it does, I got to find some plus money somewhere, or just bet the fight over in rounds and maybe parlay it or something due to it being in the minus category. But yeah, it's a good fight. It's an interesting fight to see if Munoz could go back on a run later in his career. That would be interesting, right? If you can go back-to-back wins there. He had some trouble in his previous fights. The Omalley eye poke kind of looked like it didn't look that bad, guys. I thought he could have continued, but I thought Omalley would win that fight. He started pouring it on later in the second round there. And he had the back-to-back losses over Cruz and Aldo, right? So, yeah, we're going to look at Vieira by decision over 2.5 rounds. But I do think there is a little value on Munoz, and it's my favorite underdog play on the card. It won't make my client card, though. That will do it, guys. That will do it for UFC 292 from Boston. Yes, excited for this card, even though it's not the best card, but I'm excited for some matchups here. Definitely excited to see if O'Malley could hold his own in the grappling department in that main event. Look out for my card next week, guys, and NFL is around the corner. We'll be doing 2 videos a week, and also now on audio and everywhere you get podcasts. Like I always say, guys, bet smart and know your limits.